today, I wanted to ask your prayers for one of my cousins, a very close part of our family that died last night. He was the oldest of our cousins, and as I said earlier, I'm probably now the oldest of the cousins. So he passed the baton on to me. So I got to make sure I keep it for at least 20 years. There's only 5 of us left. So please keep him in your prayers. His name is Frankie. I also want to mention also that this Saturday, David Diamond is doing the workshop at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If you're interested, it's on Zoom. The information is on Starting Point. And David does the healing workshop with music. Okay, it's a 2-hour workshop. So if you have the opportunity on Saturday, you want to join it, the information is on the website. It's also on Facebook too, so you can check it out. Okay, everything else is on the website. My thought for the month for June is also on the website. They just posted it today, so you can check that out. Okay, I want to begin tonight. We're going to be talking a lot tonight about the concept of gratitude for the gift of service. You know, it's one of the things I find interesting. So I picked this tonight because I posted it this morning. I always love the prayer of St. Francis, because to me, it really is what I call the ultimate prayer of service. And to me, St. Francis was one of the patrons of service. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, please let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much to seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. I love that prayer because it kind of brings out a lot of what I want to share tonight, because I really believe in the concept of service. And I found it kind of interesting the way I set up these 9 talks on gratitude, because the first 7 talks that I did dealt primarily with the concept of getting ready to be able to do service. See, one of the things I've learned over the years, it took me a long time to learn this one, is only until you really do work on yourself and look at yourself on the inside and truly get to know who you are, can you then be able to carry a message to other people. But carrying a message is something I want to talk about tonight, because the message doesn't come primarily from, doing a lot of yelling and screaming or standing on a soapbox. It comes from your spirit, your energy, and what's inside of you. I truly believe we speak to one another through the gift of energy, through the gift of who we are. So we truly have a sense of beauty inside of ourselves and feel good about ourselves. Then the energy from us will go out to others. And I've seen over the years how so many people are able to touch other people and touch different areas of life, not even knowing they're doing it. I believe God works through us and we're channels for God. I believe that we're channels for the Holy Spirit, and that we literally touch others by the way we live our lives. And that's what I mean when I talk about energy. I shared this earlier today, but the 2 people I get a kick out of a lot of times that I want to talk about energy are children, small children, and pets. There's one thing about children and pets. You can't fool them. They can feel what you're thinking. They can feel what's going on inside of you. And what's so powerful about that, pets are the exact same way. Pets know if you really are with them or you're not with them. And so they can pick up the energy and the spirit inside of you no matter what you're saying. And so as a result, then they can feel you and feel the presence of you. In recovery, we have learned something. And I find this very powerful, that the founders of our program, Bill W. and Dr. Bob, and the early founders had the wisdom. It took a lot of wisdom and a lot of concept of the Holy Spirit, I believe, to kind of put this together. They actually, when they put the steps together, the 12 principles, the first 11 steps are for us to work on ourselves. I find that really powerful. It says in the 12th step, having had a spiritual awakening, then to carry a message to others. You can't really give to another human being or to another person unless It comes from the inside, not from the outside. Again, I'm an expert at this, I'll be honest with you, because I gave from the outside for a lot of years. My years in the priesthood, my years before the priesthood, my years in my early years, everything to me was black and white. Everything to me was external. Because I realized today I had no internal. I had no sense of myself at all. And so I always kind of joke about this, but it really is not a joke. When I was a priest, I would get ready for my sermons on Sunday. These are my real early years. I would write the sermon out, memorize it, go over to church when it was still empty, and practice it. Then on Sunday morning, I would get up there, and within 3 minutes, everybody was asleep. The thing was terrible, because it wasn't coming from my spirit, it was coming from my intellect, my head. And I realized today, which is really important, I'm able to share things with people because I believe very deeply if you share from your heart, you share from the inside, then basically it's for real. And that's why I love the concept of recovery. I realize the fact that we are carrying messages to people just by the way we live our life, just by the energy we can give to others. We call that the power of positive thinking, the power of looking at life in a positive way. And so I really believe that every one of us, no exception, is a conduit for the Holy Spirit, a conduit for God. God speaks to us around us and carries messages to us. And that's why it's important for every one of us to take the time to look within, take the time to look at our spirit, take the time to look at these steps and realize the fact that we can't do it by ourselves. My favorite word at a meeting I was at last night, we talked about the first step, and my favorite word in the first step is the word we. It tells me over and over and over again that I can't do this by myself. I need to be connected to other people. All of our learning comes from one another. We learn from each other's stories. We are connected to each other. And the early founders were beautiful about that. They used to say, come together, nobody's in charge. We're all the same, we're all equal. And if we share with each other and listen to each other's stories, we learn from one another and we grow from each other. And to me, that is the secret to things in life. You know, we keep looking for people to kind of show us the way. We look for people on the outside to show us what to do. But really, the real message is right within us. Let me share a couple stories to kind of bring this out, because I like stories. Most of you know I do. And I want to kind of share a story that goes back to the early starting point, back in the days when we started it. The original starting point was a halfway house for street people, and we had a soup kitchen. And down in it, I was still a priest at the time, and basically a lot of the guys who graduated from the house never wanted to leave. And so we actually started a small outpatient program. We had maybe 10, 15 guys in the outpatient program. And how it would work is they would arrive around 9 o'clock in the morning. We'd have sessions with them, and our therapy sessions were phenomenal back then. We teach them how to wash clothes, how to take care of their apartment. We had cooking lessons for them. You got to remember, these were street people who never really functioned in a normal way. So all of our therapy sessions were geared towards getting them ready to be able to take care of themselves and look at themselves in a positive way. They would stay with us for lunch and then stay till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. One of the guys who came there on a regular basis, his name was Bobby P., and Bobby was very active in the South Philly group. And Bobby would arrive at 9 o'clock every morning. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he would leave, go back to his apartment, go to his meeting, back again 9 o'clock the next morning. So after Bobby did this for about a year, one day, a gentleman knocked on the front door of our center. I answered the door. There was a little guy, and he stood there, and he said to me, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're doing in here, but I live across the street in the apartments. And I saw this guy. I used to drink with him on the street. Every day he comes in here at 9 o'clock and leaves at 3 o'clock. He really looks good. I don't know what he's doing in here, but do you mind if I come and do the same thing he's doing? Now, Bobby was carrying a message, carrying the message of recovery, the message of his energy to another human being not even knowing he was doing it. And the bottom line is, you never know how you're touching another person. That's what service really is all about. Service is living your life to the best of your ability, being open to the people around you, and know that each person that you meet, you may give something small to them, a touch, it might be a hug, it might be a welcome, it might be simple little things. What I've learned over the years is the little stuff that really carries a message. It's the little stuff that counts. See, we have to learn after a while that we all have this spirit, this energy inside of us. And Bobby was just doing what he was supposed to be doing. And as a result, he was carrying a message. You know, another great story I always like telling, and it's kind of funny how a lot of this stuff happens, and it just kind of puts together. Back when we had it's a couple of years ago, I guess, we had the 5:30 lectures, remember them? And basically, I gave a lecture. After the lecture, I walked to the back of the room. I had a copy of my book in my hand, the book Relationships, the Gifts of Life, the first book that I wrote. And I walked to the back of the room, and this young girl was sitting back there. Now, I didn't know her. She didn't know me. I don't know why. I call this a God thing. You know, I just walked up to her and I said, hi. I said, hey, Merry Christmas. Here's a present for you. It wasn't Christmas. But I gave her the book. And I have no idea why I gave her the book. I gave her the book. I didn't see her for about 3 weeks. And about the 4th week, she came back. She said to me after the lecture, she said, how'd you know? I says, well, first of all, what do you mean, how did I know? Who are you? She told me her name. I said, what do you mean, how did I know? Well, 3 weeks ago when I was here, you walked up to me and handed me a book. I had just broken up from a serious relationship. I was a total disaster and I was a mess. You handed me that book on relationships, which helped me tremendously. I really thought that you knew what was going on in my life. And the bottom line was, I don't know why things happen. We don't need to know why. I don't know why I gave her the book. To me, this is how God works. God works in simple ways at simple times. You never know when you're going to touch somebody or reach somebody in the course of your journey in life. And that's what's important. And that's why I like sharing these stories, because I call these God stories. You know, in Hallmark, there's a thing called God wink. And I really believe that God winks at us and teaches us and shares things that we do through others. Even when we look at what's going on in the world today, we can look at it negatively, but we can look at it positively. There's always lessons to be learned, things to be experienced. And so there's reasons why we have to go through some of the things we have to go through, maybe to come to another awakening, another discovery of a part of ourselves as a person. I really believe that there's always a message, there's always something there, because we are the messengers. We are connected. And so sometimes we get off track. I know, we all do. Sometimes we have bad days. But service means if you're able to just live your life and work your program to the best of your ability, everything will come to you, but it will come in God's time, not in your time. Another one of my favorite stories. This happened, I guess, somewhere around, I forget, 2013, 2014, somewhere in that area. Anyway, one day I got a letter in the mail, and the letter came to Starting Point. It was addressed to Father Vince DiPasquale. And I opened it, and the letter was from a gentleman that I had met way back in 1971. Now, back in 1970s, I was a chaplain at the Atlantic County Jail, and I was doing a lot of prison work. And we used to have a joke at the county jail that many of our guys, when they graduated from the county jail, they went on to graduate school. The graduate school back then was the state prison. So basically what I would do, I used to give away a lot of big books, the paperback version of the big book. And so what I did basically, if I knew a guy was going to Trenton and he had a drug or an alcohol problem, I give him a copy of the big book and I write some numbers in of AA up in the Trenton area or the Rawway area, wherever they were going. Anyway, I probably gave out hundreds of those books over the years. Anyway, this guy wrote me a letter. He said, I've been trying to find you now for almost a couple of years. I finally found out where you were. But I want to write this because I'm going to tell you something, she said. I got to tell you a story. You probably don't remember me, but in 1971, you gave me a book. And I got news for you. I still remember I didn't like the book you gave me. In fact, I called you a few names. And, you know, I don't know. I got called a lot of names back then, so what's the difference? Anyway, he said, I was sitting in my cell at Trenton State Prison. And one day I was bored, and I saw the book laying in my locker, and I picked it up. I began to read it. And he said, the first time in my lifetime, I got tears in my eyes. My story was in that book. My story was in that book. I went to the guard and I said, what can I do about this? And the guard told me they have AA meetings in the prison. He got permission from the warden. I started attending AA and began the journey of my recovery. I'll never forget that. And so he said, I'm writing to you today to say thank you for the book you gave me, because I want to let you know I still go back to the prison. I don't stay anymore. I bring the meeting back to the prison. You know, it's funny sometimes when you look at these stories and the way things happen in life, and you realize the fact that you never know in the journey of your life how you're touching people. And these are some of the people that were able to acknowledge things, but over the course of years, we never know. One of my very favorite stories, and this is when I talk about service, because I really believe that we do service every day of our life. We do service in every area of our life. We're constantly doing service, and I think that's an important thing because just by living, we're doing service. Just by living and being around people, we touch other individuals and people. It may even be your grandkids, it may be your children, it might be family members, it might be your neighbors. You never know where it's going to come from. So the concept is, service is simply sharing with others the gifts God has given you. Because only when you're able to share them do you get them back 100-fold. I really believe very deeply that only when I'm able to share the gift of who I am does it come back. Because I believe we get stronger as a result of it. And that's why I like that concept in the 12th step, which says to practice these principles that we live by in every aspect of our life and all of our affairs. And I love that concept because it means that we can take this into every area of our life and share the gift of who we are with all the people that we meet. And I think that is so powerful and so beautiful. And that's why I really believe in the whole concept of what we're talking about tonight. That service is a way that we actually are able to connect with others and share with others. And it's beautiful when you see this. I'll tell you another story. I got stories. I got to kind of get into some more of this stuff. You know, it's funny because I don't know how long ago it was. It was a while ago, but basically we had a gas leak at Starting Point. And I called the gas company because the leak was not inside the building, it was outside in the lawn area. And so they sent a technician down to take care of everything. And when he got there, I went out with him and we were talking. He was working on the gas leak and everything. And he turned to me and he said, "Does your name happen to be Vince?" I said, "Yeah." "Were you a priest at one time?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You don't remember me, do you?" He said, 25 years ago, you got me into a treatment facility and you helped me get sober. And I've been sober ever since. I just want to, can I give you a hug? Can I say thanks? I never thought I'd see you today, but I'm really grateful. You know, I see things like this and it really hits my heart. It touches me on the inside. Because I really believe that what happens in life is that when you stop trying to figure life out, and you just live your life to the best of your ability, you have an effect on people around you. You have an effect on the world in which you live. And that's what makes life so special and so beautiful. That's why God actually sends into our life different people to be part of our journey. They send them into our life to be our teachers. None of us have come together by accident. This is all part of the concept of God, our connection to a higher power. What's so beautiful about this whole beautiful thing is that we're constantly being channels. We're channeling for others. And I got to share another story because I kind of never got to this one this afternoon, so I kind of have to get it out there. I made a promise I would. And it's funny how things just work. When you really let go, you let God flow through you, things happen, you never know what's going to happen. And I've learned this over the years, and so I stopped trying to figure life out. I stopped trying to fix things. I just kind of go with the flow and see what happens with it. Anyway, the story goes back. One day I dropped a lady off for treatment at a treatment center in Northeast Philly called Riverside House. I was still a priest at the time, and I basically dropped her off. And after I dropped her off, they invited me for lunch. And Bill, the director of the program, said to me, he said, "Hey Vince, what are you doing at 1 o'clock today?" Well, it was 10 of 1. I says, "Well, I guess I'm going back to the starting point." He says, "No, you're giving a lecture today." I said, "You got to be kidding me." I said, "It's 10 of 1. You want me to give a lecture at 1 o'clock?" I said, "Oh, what the heck? I'll give it a try. What do you want me to talk about?" He said, "Talk about spirituality." I said, "Well, okay." I said a prayer. I talked for about 45 minutes. When I was done, Bill came up to me and he said, "Hey, Vince, that was pretty damn good. Why don't you come back once a month and give the same talk?" I said, "Bill, I got to be honest. I'd love to. I have no idea what I said." So Bill actually taped it. We had tapes back then. Taped it, gave me a cassette tape of my talk. On the way home, I played it in the car. I got a lot out of that. It was pretty fantastic. You know, I laugh about this today and I joke about it because I don't remember anything that I said. And I really believe that when you actually are able to speak from your heart, it's not important what comes out. Because I truly believe God speaks through us. And I really believe that when you finally learn, here's where the steps come into play. We learn through the concept of faith, the kind of letting go, of realizing the fact that we're not running a show. All of a sudden, things start to happen. We're able to reach out and connect with other people and connect with life. And so many of us in this room today are connected to each other. Every one of us is one of God's teachers. Every one of us is carrying a message. And so I learned this a long time ago, and I got to tell you kind of a funny story, because some of the guys I love so much in this program are what I refer to as the old timers. Hear me talk about them all the time. I love those guys. I learned a lot from them. They taught me a lot of wisdom. But one of them was a gentleman that came to my lectures all the time, and I know he won't mind me mentioning his name. Everybody knows him as Whitey. And Whitey was around for a long time. And I love the man. The man, you know, he had such a sense of humor, it was unbelievable. And a friend of mine went to visit him one day. It was a good friend of his. And Whitey was very close to his deathbed at the time. And so basically, when he went to visit him, he walked in the room, and Whitey was laying there flat out, with his hands across his chest, with his eyes closed. And my friend thought he had died.
Hey, Vince, I don't want to interrupt you, but there's a tornado warning going on in South Jersey. I don't know if anybody else is seeing it, but they're saying to take shelter.
Okay, well.
And it's all over the news and the TV. I don't know if anybody else is getting it. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, so, you know, and he went up to Whitey and he said, "What are you doing, Whitey?" And he said, "You're not dead, are you?" Whitey said, "No, I'm just practicing for when I'm in the coffin." And I got a kick out of that. He said, "I just want to make sure I do it right," he said. "So when they lay me out, I'm set." But see, we can joke about life. We can joke about death. We can joke about a lot of things, but that's where it comes into play. One of the most important things about life. You got to try to be as honest as you can be every day and do that with love. We have to learn to let go and not try to control things. We have to learn to have a sense of humor, to laugh at life, to enjoy life. We have to learn deep down inside the importance of realizing the value of life. We have to learn humility. We have to learn the gift of humility, you know, because we're always learning something new. We're teachable. Be teachable. We're also looking at the concept deep down inside of being able to heal, make peace, learn, move forward. And no matter what happened in our life, no matter what it is, somehow, some way, we're able to see something positive from it. And so we keep trying and we keep growing. So tonight, when we talked about service, I truly believe that we are God's servants. And service just simply means do the best you can with your own life, live it to the best of your ability. It's a gift. If you truly believe in that gift, then you'll be able to carry a message to other people, carry a message to people you're connected to. And it might be a simple little thing like, I love you. It might be a simple little thing by just guys saying something. It's the little things that make big things happen. A good friend of mine is, she's so excited because she's older, and she came up to me one day and she says, the thing I love about you, you always call me kid. I says, well, you're a kid. She says, thank you. Do you know my name? I says, your name's Kid. What can I tell you? And that's the fun part about it. So you learn to enjoy life and celebrate life. So I want to do a prayer tonight, kind of close out, and realize the fact of how special each one of us is, and to realize the beauty of who we are as people, because doing service is such a gift. Don't ever take it for granted. And every day, just do the things you're supposed to do for that day. Say your prayers, ask God to guide you, and realize the fact that you will touch another human being by what you do in the course of your journey in life. With a lot of gratitude, with a lot of love, I just simply want to share something with you tonight. So let us pray. God, we come before you as your servants. We come before you in peace. We come before you and we realize that you are a special part of our journey, that you are our guide, you are our strength. Teach us to come to you, to ask for your guidance and your direction. Teach us to try to the best of our ability to let go of control, to let go of isolation, to let go of trying to figure things out. Just realize that we're on this wonderful, wonderful journey of life. We're going to experience problems and experience situations on the journey. But during it, if we rely on you and are connected to you, somehow, some way, we're able to carry a message to the people around us. Carry the basic message of life and letting people know that they're loved, they're cared for. Being able to just to say hi, to say hello, and know that each and every one of us is one of your guides and one of your strengths. We have so much gratitude today, God, for helping us to be your servant, be able to be of service to others, and realize in doing so, we are being service to ourselves. So we pray for your guidance and your direction in all that we do. We ask you to guide us as we go on this wonderful journey called life, the journey of learning to love and care for one another and care for those around us. We ask you to help and guide us and give us the strength to see your message in all things in this world. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
And now I'm going to ask all of you to join me in the serenity prayer.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God's will, not mine, be done.